All right, the Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Cowboys all clinch their divisions finally. The Rams and the Cardinals clinch a playoff spot, which is weird. The Cardinals clinch a playoff spot despite getting outshined by the Colts. Speaking of the Colts, despite not having a single starting offensive lineman and even losing a backup during the game and not having the incredible Darius Leonard, they pretty much still manhandled the Cardinals to give them their third straight loss. Cardinals' third straight loss. Is that right?
That's right. That is correct.
Yeah. The Bills get their revenge on the Pats, and this just in, yes, unfortunately, Matt Nagy still has a job. All this and more on the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. All right, here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is week 17. We're getting down to last 2 weeks of the regular season. And I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
Hefe.
All right, I'm going to say it a couple more times. You got to join us in the Patreon community. Look, we appreciate the support. We are moving. We're getting ready to wrap up our second season. And we got a little ways to go. I just want to tell you that there's going to be some big changes next year. You'll want to join us on our Patreon community for our third season. You'll be able to find all of our stuff. We're going to do some contests and that kind of stuff inside Patreon, some members only stuff. You'll definitely want to get in on that for season 3. So go to www.horsemensports.com right now so you don't forget. Send your grandma a text message and let her know because we need her to join too, and join us there. And that's all I'm going to say about it. All right, weekly pigskin pick'em leaders. I did pretty well this week. I thought I was hoping maybe some of the other guys would have some missteps and I'd be able to make up some ground. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately. We have a 3-way tie this week with 1 game remaining with Willie on the west side and Todd Haney and the Horseman, Zach. Congratulations.
That is correct. I do want to say, not to brag or boast in it here, but last week when everybody was tied up going into the last few games in that weird week where you had Monday night games and Tuesday night games, only one came out ahead, and yeah, that was me.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. We need some sound effects in here. We need some applause or a roaring crowd or something.
I know, right? I've been telling you guys I'm coming back. I should be leading this week. I sat here and I thought long and hard about it. And when the news was breaking about the Colts COVID thing, I was like, I'm going to do that thing I do where I switch my pick in hopes that I'm incorrect. So I ended up going with the Cardinals, and it paid off because the Colts ended up winning. So I'll take the loss on the pigskin pick'em as long as the Colts got a win. So I should be ahead, but I chose to take the Cardinals and I lost that. So currently sitting in a 3-way tie.
Okay. All right. Who did you take tonight?
I'm pretty sure I got the Saints.
Yeah, I took the Saints too. Hefe, you took the Saints.
I did. I switched my pick though. No
Okay.
Taysom Hill, no chance for me. So I'm taking the Dolphins to beat the Saints.
Okay. It's tough even with Taysom Hill out. I just don't think the Dolphins, they're like the Cowboys, right? Except for last night. Up until last night, the Cowboys really hadn't beaten anybody. We talked about how good they were. Last night, they showed they're ready for the playoffs. There ain't no two ways about that. That was an ass beating. They spanked a bunch of grown men like they were a middle school team. I don't. Maybe the Dolphins will do that tonight. Maybe they'll convince me. I'm a Dolphins fan. I just don't think they're ready. I think this year's going to be a wash for them. Anyway, we're getting off topic because we have that game will be inconsequential when everyone watches this, and they won't want to hear our speculation because they'll know the final score. So let's move on to what they do want to hear, and let's talk about this week's games. Week 17, January 2nd. So there's no Thursday night games, no Saturday night games, huh? Okay.
Yep, all Sunday from here on out.
Yep. Okay. All right. The first game will be on our agenda here is the Falcons at the Buffalo Bills. Falcons are hovering around 500. They come and they go. The Bills appear to have gotten out of their slump. They beat a good Pats team, and I think they're going to win the division, right?
They are currently leading the division, so yes, they are in control of their destiny.
Yeah. Buffalo's a contender. They're at home, and I heard there's like crazy weather moving in there. It might come after this game, so I haven't checked the forecast for this game. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to take the Bills.
Yeah, you'd be crazy to take the Falcons at this point. The Bills are favored by 14.5. That's a pretty big spread. I don't know if I would take the Bills on that. They're more than capable of absolutely going over that 14.5. So I'm not sure what to do when it comes to the spread. I'd probably take the Falcons just because of how big of a number that is. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Bills come together really quick and air it out, put up a lot of points against the Falcons here. But overall, yeah, Bills hands down.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the Bills with the points on that one. I think this one has a chance to get ugly. We saw even with Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley out, they were able to have a guy in Isaiah McKenzie step up in a huge way, 11 for 125 and a touchdown to help them get back into first place in the division. And here on Thursday night, I think they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. They've been running the ball more. They still pass a lot, but they've at least included the running game more, and it's been effective. Devin Singletary's looked good, and I expect that to continue against the Falcons here and take another step toward winning their division.
All right, we're all three taking the Bills, and you probably should too. All right, next game up is the New York Giants at the Chicago Bears. I guess the only question I have here are the Seahawks better than the Giants? I don't know what you guys think. I mean, do you think the Seahawks are better than the Giants?
Yeah, I do think the Seahawks are better than the Giants, but not by much. I mean, at this point, even with Russ and the playmakers they have, I don't know what's wrong with them, but barely better than the Giants, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And Bears got a big win. I don't know that it changes much of anything other than they're going to be at home, and I don't see the Giants beating them. So, and I don't know how many times I've said this year. Not very many. I'm going to take the Bears.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The Giants just are not a good football team. I've been preaching it every single week. They've dropped 4 in a row. It's not looking pretty for the guys there in New York. I'm pretty sure Daniel Jones is out for the rest of the season, correct?
Yeah, they've already said that he's shut down for the year.
So who is it? Jake Fromm?
No, Jake Fromm was a starter, got replaced by Mike Lennon. Mike Lennon will be the quarterback.
Either or, it doesn't matter. The Bears, they're not a good football team, but they're definitely better than the New York Giants. So I'm taking the Bears. They're favored by 6. Probably be a closer game than that just because both teams suck. So I would take the Giants on the spread, but Bears to win it outright.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could take the Giants to win this game here, but I mean, just like you guys, I'm going to be taking the Bears. There's no hope, it seems, for the Giants at this point. So, what I really want to know is why they've already said they're going to keep Joe Judge. Like, what has he done in 2 years?
I was just getting ready to bring that up. They're Joe Judge and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be interested to see, like, if they get a more competent coach, one of the, an Eric Bieniemy type guy to come in, be the coach, can they have Daniel Jones and all the weapons that are there and make it a competent offense? So far, there's really been no proof of that. I mean, but they have so many playmakers. There has to be a coach somewhere that can turn it into a successful offense there.
Well, they're not going to get a chance to do it for at least another 12 months. So, but we're all three taking the Bears. I don't know whether you should or not. I don't know very many people will watch that game. I know I'm not. All right, next up, this is a game I would like to keep an eye on. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow was slighted, and it pissed him off, and he went all Tom Brady on him. I don't know if you guys heard that. I can't remember exactly what was said. Somebody slided him, and he put up 500 yards yesterday because of that quote. So they're in Cincinnati. The Chiefs, man, the Chiefs are back to the Chiefs we know. This is a big game, man. This is a really big game with future playoff implications. There's a lot of implications. We'll go down that in the playoffs here in a second. I can't bet against the Chiefs, but I got a feeling there might. Who's favored in this?
It's the Chiefs by 5.
Oh, that's a little more than the Bengals may pull this one off. I'm going to take the Chiefs because it's a safe bet, but I got a feeling the Bengals are going to take this one. This could be an upset. I'll just end that there.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. The Chiefs have won 8 in a row. They've been looking really good, but the Bengals are getting hot. They definitely put it to the Ravens again. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals here at home, just because it's tough to win 9 games in a row in the NFL, right? And you would assume by now, with the Bengals getting hot, the way they're playing, they have all this tape on the Chiefs. They can make adjustments. Just maybe they could pull something out and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs win. Obviously, they are right now probably the hottest team in the NFL. But I'm just going to go with the upset this week. This is my upset for the week, and I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals.
So, I know everybody's hot on the Bengals, and good for Joe Burrow, having an incredible game. But if you look at the COVID and the injury situation for the Ravens, and I mean, the secondary that they had, Mahomes could have had, 500 yards and 7 touchdowns in that game. Like, there were a few quarterbacks in the league that could have done what Joe Burrow did yesterday against that defense. And the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be getting Travis Kelce back. They're going to be getting Nick Bolton and a couple more guys on that defense back from the COVID-19 list for this game. And the Bengals, I don't believe, are going to have the same success. I would take the Chiefs to cover those 5 points in this game and knock the Bengals down, which, as we go through our predictions, the Bengals will still lead their division, but it's going to be tricky for them these last couple weeks.
Yeah, certainly. All right. So Jeff and I are taking the Chiefs. I think there might be an upset. Jeff's sure there's not going to be an upset, and Zach thinks there is going to be an upset and is taking the Bengals. It was the Ravens defensive coordinator that slighted Joe Burrow and said something about he isn't ready for a Hall of Fame jacket just yet or something like that. But Burrow took it personally, and it's like pissing Jordan off. Apparently, not something you want to do. All right, next game up: Dolphins at Tennessee Titans. I'm a Dolphins fan. Again, we just talked about. I'd love to see them beat the Saints. I don't think they will, but it goes without question. I would love to see them beat the Tennessee Titans. The Colts need the Titans to drop both games, and the Colts need to win both games to take the division. They can't tie. They have to take a lead because Tennessee owns a tiebreaker. So, but they're in Tennessee. I have to believe that Tennessee is a legit playoff team, and I don't think that Miami is this year. So I'm going to take Tennessee, and just on the confidence that the organization has their head on straight, and they know what they're up against and what they got to do.
Yeah, if the Dolphins end up beating the Saints, I might think a little bit differently about this. But again, like Hefe even pointed out earlier, the Saints don't have a quarterback. They're struggling. There's no team that the Dolphins have beaten this year that was a very good quality win. So even with a team like the Titans, who's missing Derrick Henry, and your offensive dynamic has completely changed, they're still able to pull out wins here or there. They're still a playoff team even without him. So I think when it comes time for the Titans to wrap this thing up and clinch the AFC South against the Miami Dolphins, I think they are the better football team. I think they will get that done. They're only favored by 3. I like the Titans with the points in this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I think Miami will be able to keep it close because Derrick Henry's not there. So you really, you have two really good corners on the outside that can stay with the likes of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Julio Jones has been kind of non-existent anyways, whether he's in the lineup or not. But, I think Miami has an opportunity to keep this game close. But in the end, Tennessee is just a better football team. When it comes down to it, I think there's more of a chance Miami makes a mistake to give this game away than Tennessee. So I will also be taking Tennessee to clinch the division this weekend.
All right. We are all three taking Tennessee at home against the Dolphins, but we will all three be completely ecstatic to miss this one in this week's picks.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. All right. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders at the Indianapolis Colts. The Raiders can do some good things here and there, but I think they beat the Broncos yesterday. But I think they're outclassed here. The Colts are 6-1 in their last 7 games, and that one loss I think was the Buccaneers.
To the Bucs, yeah.
Yeah, and prior to that, I think the game before that was the Titans. So I got into a discussion on social media. I'm so tired of the Colts fans just bashing Frank Reich and bashing Carson Wentz. Wentz is over 3,000 yards. He's got 25 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions.
That's right.
You guys having a hell of a season on a team that doesn't need him to do that. We got the best running back in the league right now. This is a winning formula, man. People better pay attention. We've been saying it for 2 years, but I'm telling you, they better pay attention. This team is really fucking good. And I think we're all going to see that against the Raiders. We've been seeing it. The Cardinals have been down, losing 3 in a row. It takes away from the Colts' credibility in that win a little bit because people are like, well, the Cardinals are struggling. But I think we're going to see a pretty strong showing here. I would imagine, I don't know Frank Reich. I would imagine that Frank Reich, they've had the discussion about the division. And they're probably treating every game from here on out, from the last couple of weeks out, every game is a playoff game. That's a must-win. I have no reason to believe they're not going to come out to make a statement this weekend. And I have all the faith in the world. That's exactly what they're going to do. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's if there was going to be an issue with the COVID outbreak that is spreading through the Colts like a wildfire right now, it would have appeared last week against the Arizona Cardinals, and it didn't. The Colts absolutely dominated the Cardinals. I know some more players have been recently added to the COVID list. Darius Leonard's unvaccinated, so he will also miss this game. But EJ Speed filled in nicely for him against the Cardinals. This defense is still hitting left and right, making plays. This offense is dominating. Like you were talking about Carson Wentz, the dude's throwing 3,200 yards this season, 25 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. And yes, those interceptions were boneheaded plays, but still, that's a nice ratio that he has there. And then you have Jonathan Taylor, who's the best running back in the league. This Colts team is primed and ready. They've been playing like a playoff team. They are a Super Bowl contender. I think they will continue and dominate the Las Vegas Raiders, who have been struggling. Colts are favored by 7.5. I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, this game's going to be interesting because, as Zach mentioned, there were more players added to the COVID list. It's my understanding Quentin Nelson is also unvaccinated. He will also be missing another game. Now, one of the big stories for the Colts in the offseason was the fact that they had one of the worst vaccination rates in the NFL. So this is going to be a problem. But, they were able to win a game between injuries, personal matters, and COVID. They won a game against a really good team. I expect them to be able to adjust. They're going to get some of these guys back. I believe Rocky Sin, Kamoko Toure, and Mark Lewinsky should be back. Ryan Kelly is also going to be back in the lineup after missing the last couple games with his family matters that he had going on. So Danny Pinter will be able to slide in. Chris Reed was the second highest graded Colt in that Cardinals game, filling in very nicely. George Odom, the safety that filled in, which Colts are rolling with like third, fourth, and fifth safeties at this point because of injuries and COVID. George Odom was the highest graded player coming out of that game against the Cardinals. So, the backups came in. And it's a real next man up mentality here. And, a lot of people have been talking about Chris Ballard and giving him credit, and he deserves it because they were able to get a good win against the Cardinals. They'll be able to lock up a playoff spot here when they beat the Raiders.
Yeah, and I can't let this Reich and Wentz thing go. I'm going to say it one more time. All right, Reich has had nothing but blocks thrown in front of him since he took this team over, starting with Andrew Luck. And it's just been one thing after another, including COVID, completely disrupting the preseason, which you got Wentz, and you it even goes to a psychology standpoint. The guy was mentally battered when he came here. You play in a place like Philadelphia, and the team sucks, and the fans are demanding in a place like Philly. And New York's the same way, and they put a lot of pressure. The media and the fans put a lot of pressure there for them to win, and they're not winning. Wentz was taking the brunt of that, and then the guy starts to second guess his own ability. So now he's fighting. He's not only fighting injuries, but he's fighting this own mental demon, trying to get back on track. So he comes here, new start, everything. He's familiar with Reich. He likes what's going on here. And he comes here, we got the pandemic. He can't practice with everybody like he should. He can't get everything. He's already behind because he's new. He can't practice everybody. He gets hurt. He can't take reps. I mean, the guy needed the first half of the season just to figure out really what in the hell was going on here. They're 6-1 in their last 7 games. We just talked about his statistics. I don't understand. I saw big shout out to Michael Smither on social media yesterday. Said, I hate Colts fans, and he said in the first half, Reich and Wentz suck. They need whatever. And he said in the second half, oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl. And talking about last night's game. And look, man, give the guys a chance to put the shit together. And that's what we're seeing. I'm surprised we're even having this conversation right now, because with the setbacks they had this year, it would be completely expected for them to finish right around 500. But they're not. They're making a strong run, and they're going to squeeze in, and they're good enough to beat anybody. They were almost good enough to beat anybody in the first half of the season when they were losing close games to really good teams. They've done nothing but get better. This is a championship caliber team, and both of these guys should be here to stay. And we've all three said that from day one. People just need to back off and be quiet and watch these guys play, because they were really fucking good. Getting off my soapbox.
Yeah, and before we move off this game, it should also be mentioned that the Raiders had 6 players test positive for COVID-19 today, most of which were starters and defensive starters at that. So I believe today was another record day. There was like 106 players that tested positive on Monday of this week, which is a record high for the NFL in one day. So it continues to be an issue, and will probably continue to change as we move here through the week.
Yeah, and I hate it. We've talked about this before. I like teams being at full strength. When you win a game, as a coach, when I coached, I always wanted to win. I wanted to know that we deserved to win the game. But that's neither here nor there. We can't do anything about it. And in the end, it'll just go down as a W or an L, and nobody will ever ask any questions about it. So anyway, we are all three taking the Colts, and you should too.
Let me ask this speculative comment or question.
All right.
So just recently today, the CDC announced that the isolation period that they recommend for everybody goes from 10 days to 5 days. I know the NFL just changed their COVID policies with the NFLPA. Do you think they will revisit this again and make adjustments? And do you think they will do that this week, and most of these guys will be eligible to return before the game?
I don't see why not. I mean, they're pretty good about keeping their finger on the pulse, being on top of this, being transparent about everything. I certainly don't see why they wouldn't make this change.
Yeah, and I mean, J.C. Treader, the head of the NFLPA for the players, I would assume that he's going to get a lot of people, a lot of the heads of the different NFL teams, a lot of the players contacting him like, hey, we need to put some pressure on them. We need to get this changed. We're getting into the playoffs. We can't be messing with all this. If they changed it, we need to change it. And I expect that to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm really hoping so.
Yeah, that's a great point, Hefe. Look, how there isn't any coach that would be pissed that you changed the rule to allow another team's players to come back. But there'll be a lot of coaches pissed that you didn't change it and didn't let their players come back. And that might be the strongest argument right there, to just get look. And the fans want everybody on the field.
It's a better product too, even with the business aspect of it.
Agreed. Absolutely. So that's a great question. I forgot that the CDC did that just a couple hours ago. I got a notification. So it's a great question. I'll be interested to see what happens next couple of days. All right. Next game up, Jags at the Patriots. There ain't no question here. I would have laughed with you, Zach, last week if it weren't for Belichick being pissed off he got beat by the Bills last night. This could be a statement game for sure.
Yeah, it's I'm sitting here looking at the stats. The Jags average 14.5 points per game. The Patriots average 25.9. The Jags give up 26.4 points per game. The Patriots give up 17.3 points per game. The spread on this is 15.5 in favor of the Patriots. And although I talked earlier about 14.5 points, that's a lot. I don't know if I could do that, and I ended up taking the Falcons on the spread with that game. This is one of those games where I think I'm going to have to take the Patriots at 15.5.
Yeah, I would too. Again, that line could change massively through the week if COVID comes creeping through there somewhere. But either way, the Patriots should be able to pull this out. The Jaguars are just helpless at this point. The one time I have ever thought the Jags might win this game, I took the Jags. I got it wrong. They lost to the Jets. The Jets' defense has been so bad, and Trevor Lawrence in this offense couldn't even get it going against him. It was unfortunate. James Robinson goes down in the first quarter, tearing his Achilles. That does change things for them. He's a massive weapon to have in the offense, and especially without him, Jaguars are going to get crushed. I will also be taking the 15.5 points the Patriots are getting?
Yeah, 15.5.
Yeah, it's probably a safe bet.
All right. We're all three taking the Patriots and the points. You probably should do both too. All right. Next game up is the Buccaneers at the Jets. Jets are bad. I don't care if they're at home. The Bucs are tuning things up. This is a no-brainer. I'll quit talking. No-brainer.
Yeah, Bucs by 13. I'm taking them.
Yeah, at least 13. The Bucs probably going to roll them, especially if Mike Evans is back. This one's probably going to be like a 5-touchdown difference. By the way, one interesting note I saw was that Tom Brady in this last game threw 30 passes. That was the fewest he's thrown this entire season.
Okay. Well, next game up is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington football team. I don't think Washington's as bad as it looked last night. I mean, I think they've got some problems. Dallas was just they were firing on all cylinders, man. They knew exactly they had it together. The Cowboys are still that much better than Washington. I don't really know what's going on. But speaking of ass whipping, the Eagles put one down yesterday on New York. It appears that the Eagles are finally getting their shit together, and I expect them to do this pretty much. Probably the same thing to Washington that Dallas did. I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles beat Washington 2 weeks ago. They won by 10, 27-17. Like you said, Dallas absolutely rolled Washington this last week, 56-14. The Eagles, on the other hand, won 5 of their last 6, I do believe. They're looking good. They have slid into the number 7 spot, I think, in the NFC wildcard. I don't think they're going to relinquish that this game. It's a big game for them, but Washington is crashing and burning. The Eagles are riding high. I'm taking the Eagles all day. They're favored by 3.5. I'll take them with the points too.
Yeah, I don't know how right now on ESPN Pigskin Pick 'em, this is a perfect 50-50 split. People picking Eagles and Washington. The way Washington's look compared to the way the Eagles have looked, this seems like a no-brainer. This is going to be the Eagles running all over Washington in this game, and they're not going to be able to stop it. So I would take Washington to win by 2 scores. Or sorry, I would take the Eagles to win by 2 scores.
I was like,
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, real quick, because you were talking about that, the differential on the points differential for Washington is minus 7.3 points per game, whereas the Eagles are plus 4.3. So that's a swing of like 11, 12 points. So it wouldn't surprise me if they win by 2 touchdowns.
Well, and to bring up the whole 50-50 thing, when I was in Key West a couple weeks ago, and I ran into some Eagles fans, and I told them that we do this podcast and we start, and that we're from Indianapolis. So they gave me they were razzing about the whole Ginger Jesus thing with Wentz. And they disagree with me on 2 things. One of them is that Wentz has a possibility of winning a Super Bowl in Indianapolis. They don't think he's a good quarterback, which is, a Philly fan. I get it. They also didn't agree with me that the Eagles that Jalen Hurts may be their future, and that the Eagles have gotten things turned around. And I think that was coming off. They had lost to the Giants after that, but they had a couple solid wins a couple weeks before that. If the Eagles are, I don't know what they're going to do next year, but it's crazy that we're even having this conversation about the Eagles. The way the whole season started, we didn't expect them to do much. I'm sure Eagles fans didn't expect them to do much. Now everybody's used to them not doing much. I think they've quietly gotten their shit together, and people don't realize that they're capable of winning football games. And I think that may come down to that whole 50-50 thing you were talking about, Hefe, that people just haven't realized that the Eagles can win some games and spoil some teams. I don't know who they got left. They've got Washington and
Dallas.
Boy, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, and I was one of my coworkers, he's an Eagles fan. He's actually going to go to that game. So we were kind of talking about it today, and I was like, oh, well, the Eagles might be able to pull it out because Dallas would have it's the last week. They already clinched the division. They're going to want to sit their guys. And then I was thinking, well, there is a possibility they could be fighting with the Green Bay Packers to get the number 1 seed. So there is a possibility that Dallas doesn't sit their guys that final game. So it could end up being a really big playoff implicated game with the Eagles and the Cowboys in week 18.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't think the Eagles would love nothing better than ending their season off spoiling the Cowboys' dreams of grandeur, you're not paying attention to the NFC East. So that's going to be a fun game to talk about next week.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
But this week, I don't think the game's going to be very fun. We're all 3 taking the Eagles. All right, next game up is the Los Angeles Rams at the Baltimore Ravens. At this point, I'm riding the Ravens off. And who they have the last game? I don't have it in front of me. You might know.
Pittsburgh.
Are they in Pittsburgh?
No, it's in Baltimore.
Okay. I don't know that makes as much difference as if it's in Pittsburgh, because if it's in Pittsburgh, I guarantee I'd take Pittsburgh. Baltimore, I don't know. Anyway, I think the Rams know what they're up against. They're trying to get ready for the playoffs. They're fighting for a playoff spot. I think the Ravens are just broken, man, and they just don't know how to get it all together. I'm taking the Rams on the road.
Yeah, between the injuries and everything with the Ravens, it's been really tough. And hats off to John Harbaugh for them able to win as many games as they have, even though the bulk majority of those games they've squeaked it out. They've now lost 4 in a row. They're slipping down. I believe they're currently out of the playoffs. It's not looking good for the Ravens. They're not really a good football team, although they have squeaked out wins. And I've said it repeatedly, good teams find a way to win, but it's just all crumbling right in front of their eyes. And the Rams, on the other hand, they've rattled off 4 wins in a row. They're starting to come to form. Matt Stafford starting to look a little bit better. Odell Beckham Jr. showed up. So the Rams are really getting it going right before the playoffs. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with when they get into the playoffs. Wouldn't surprise me if they make it to the NFC Championship game or even the Super Bowl. So when it comes to this game, the Ravens versus the Rams, no way I'm going to take the Ravens to beat them. So I'm taking the Rams, and the spread is only 3.5 for the Rams. So I'm taking them with the points too.
Yeah, I would too. This is going to be probably a lot like what the Ravens just had. Their secondary is not going to be much better. Matt Stafford just had his worst game of the year, throwing 3 interceptions, and that offense still found a way to put up 30 points and win a game. So I expect Matt Stafford to come out, throw for at least 400 yards in this game, at least 4 touchdowns, Cooper Kupp to have 2 touchdowns, Odell Beckham Jr. to have his 5th touchdown with the Rams. It's going to be a Rams domination.
All right, we're all 3 taking the Rams. You should too. On the road, no doubt. All right, next up, I don't know about this one. The Broncos at the Chargers, AFC West. I don't know. The Houston Texans, man. I've seen some crazy stuff all year, and just when it looks like things are normal, the Texans dominate the Chargers. I honestly swear I don't know where to go with this one. I think the Chargers are a better football team, but if they're going to play like they did last week, then the Broncos are going to wrangle them up. So that was kind of like an Old West Bronco joke there. No one? Nothing?
I caught it. Oh yeah, I heard what you said. Yeah.
All right.
On the same page.
I guess I got to give them the Chargers are home. Maybe give them the bounce back thing. I don't know, but Broncos defense is pretty tough, and they know the Chargers can be beaten. But I'm going to take the Chargers anyway.
Hefe, I'm assuming Bridgewater's out. Do you have any news on that?
I've not heard anything on Bridgewater yet, but that's what I'm assuming. If there's nothing really out there, I assume he's probably out again.
Yeah, the only way I would even consider the Broncos to win this game is if Teddy Bridgewater is playing. I am not a Drew Lock fan. He is not good. He just lost to a struggling Raiders team this last week.
Dude, the Texans beat the Chargers. I want to make sure you heard me correctly.
I know, but it's just
the Texans.
Okay, can I fill in the blank of why the Texans were able to beat the Chargers?
Yeah.
Because the Chargers had 13 players, mostly starters, out on the COVID list, which included Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. So they obviously, don't have the depth to get through the COVID stuff, but it allowed them to be vulnerable in that game.
Good point. I was getting ready to say, well, the Colts had, but never mind. You covered that with depth, so I'll relax. I'll sit back and let Zach finish.
Yeah, yes, they lost to the Texans, but 2 games ago they lost to the Chiefs in overtime. So the Chargers are one of those teams where it's up 1 week, down 1 week. But like Hefe said, they're dealing with a lot of COVID issues, especially with some star players. Denver won this game earlier in the season against the Chargers. I don't think they're going to be able to beat them twice in one season, especially with Drew Lock under center. The Chargers are favored by 5.5. I'd probably take the safe pick and take the Broncos with the points. I think it could be a very close game, but the Chargers could also snap and put up 40 points on the Broncos as well. So I don't know what to take on the spread, but I am going to take the Chargers to win the game.
Last week when we talked about the Broncos, all I told you guys was Drew Lock. I was going to pick the Raiders. And as the week went on, I thought about it and thought, man, the Raiders have just looked so bad. I think because of the Broncos' run game and their defense, I'm going to take the Broncos. And what happened? Drew Lock found a way to lose the game. So I will once again be saying Drew Lock can't win football games. I'm taking Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and I will not change my pick this week.
Watch Drew Lock just start to get it figured out.
400 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, right. This would be the game.
Yeah. All right. So we're all 3 taking the Chargers. Next game up is the Texans at the 49ers. I don't care if they beat the Chargers or not. I am not. You got something you want to say about this game?
Yes, breaking news on the 49ers side. Jimmy Garoppolo has a UCL tear and a fracture in his thumb.
Oh, it's Trey Lance time.
Yeah, they're gonna make it. They're gonna make them better.
I don't think so. I personally like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's played very well the times he's been in the Niners. His deal is that he just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they didn't draft Trey Lance for no reason. This could be it.
Yeah, I like Trey Lance a lot, and there's a lot of promise there. Earlier in the year, he obviously wasn't a polished quarterback. It'll probably look rough, especially against the Texans here in this start. But if I think he can still get it done. I think this will be a close game, though.
What's the spread on this game?
Right now it's 13.5. So if I was a betting man, I'd be putting my money down on the Texans to cover that spread.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Though I can't in good faith pick the Texans outright, especially on the road in San Francisco. Given the information that we have, it's very possible this could be an upset, but I'm still taking the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm also going to take them. The 49ers just overall are a better football team. I've been pretty high on them as of late. This Jimmy G injury really sets them back. What's their playoff outlook? They're sitting at 6 right now. So I don't know. We'll see how Trey Lance does. I think he's more than capable of getting the job done, but he is a rookie. He is going against professionals. So the Texans may be able to throw some stuff at him, have him make some mistakes, and come out with a win. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm definitely going to take the Niners here.
Yeah, I'm also going to be taking the Niners. You have two rookie quarterback, Davis Mills, who should have a pretty good opportunity to have a decent game. The Niners secondary has been the weak spot of that defense for sure. So they're going to need to tighten things up, but I think that Trey Lance makes that offense in San Francisco dynamic, especially having George Kittle in the lineup is going to help him out a lot, Deebo Samuel. So I will also be taking the Niners in a close game.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is this conversation, Zach, you asked about the playoffs, is going to take us really into the conversation with the next game up, which is the Cardinals at the Cowboys, and then the next game up is going to be the Panthers at the Saints. If the 49ers win and the Saints win tonight and Saints win next week, and the Cowboys can drop the Cardinals are at risk of not making the playoffs. We'll get into that here after we get done with our picks. So I just wanted to kind of
the Cardinals they're clinched. They're in there.
Oh, they did clinch, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're already clinched.
Yeah. So they must have the tiebreaker if that must get into that real crazy math because we'll talk about that when we run down the playoffs. So I guess they at least have that 7th spot completely locked up because they would drop to 10-6. The Saints, if they won both games, would go to 9-7, and the 49ers would go to 9-7 if they won with one game remaining. But they obviously have a tiebreaker with both those teams. So I got ahead of myself. All right, so the Cardinals are going into Dallas. Dallas is a little bit up and down, but they're good. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're on the good side of a little bit up and down. They can be shaky at times, but man, I'm telling you that last night they looked like they were ready to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, don't say that. You'll get those Cowboys fans going.
Dude, they're already going. You know that.
It's going to be even better when they lose in the playoffs.
Yeah. I reposted the meme from Week 3 when they beat the Eagles, and the Cowboys fans were talking about they were going to win the Super Bowl. I had Dave Chappelle's Rick James. I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers of all time, and I just scratched out Eagles and wrote WFT and scratched out Week 3 and wrote Week 16 and reposted on our Twitter. It's been like that all day. I've seen Cowboys fans, but deservedly so. It's been a long time. It's been a long drought, and they looked damn good last night. So the Cardinals are on a three game skid, and I expect the Cowboys to make that 4 this week.
I agree with you, and it comes down to one man and one man only, and that is DeAndre Hopkins not being in there for the Arizona Cardinals. Completely changes the dynamic of that offense. Kyler Murray just isn't the same with him. You have all these good receivers like Christian Kirk and AJ Green, Andy Isbell, all those guys on the outside that now have to play different roles because one of the best receivers in the game is not in there. And it's shown the last 3 games. They've lost 3. They were the hottest team in the league with him in there, and he's just not there for the Cardinals. So with the Cowboys playing well, they've won 4 in a row. They completely dominated the Washington football team. There's no way I'm going to take the Cardinals to beat Dallas here. Cowboys favored by 5.5. I'll take them with the points.
Yeah, I think, man, 5.5. I don't know. That's going to be a tough one because I think the Cardinals still have the weapons to be explosive. In the game against the Colts, they were down Rondale Moore and they were down James Conner, and that affects the game. Those are 2 pretty pivotal guys in the offense, especially with D-Hop being out. Assuming that they get both those guys back here for the Cowboys, I just don't know if that's going to matter because where the Cowboys are dangerous is ever since you had Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence come back into the lineup and join Micah Parsons in the pass rush, this defense has been unstoppable. You can't throw to Trayvon Diggs' side of the field without worrying about him giving up an interception. I did hear a stat that he's the only corner to give up 1,000 yards this year and make it to the Pro Bowl. But I mean, he's a ball hawk. He has the most interceptions in the NFL in like 15 years or something like that. And so this defense is a scary part of Dallas. Their offense, we saw it against Washington. When they want to go, they go. Well, okay, when they have it figured out, they're going. With that defense, I think they can beat anybody right now, and I think they show their dominance here against the Cardinals.
Yeah, and with Diggs, Diggs has, I think, 11 on the season, and he tied a franchise record with one of my favorite players as a kid, Everson Walls, from the 1981 season. So all he needs is one more in the next 2 games, and he breaks that record. Wishing him luck. It would be cool to see him do that. So we're all 3 taking the Cowboys, unfortunately for the Cardinals and Cardinals fans. But I don't think it matters what we think. I think it's probably pretty much a done deal. All right, next up is the Panthers at the Saints. I know we're waiting to see what the Saints do tonight. We don't know if Taysom Hill will be back or not. But I don't see the Panthers coming in to New Orleans and beating New Orleans. I don't see Sean Payton letting that happen. I'm taking the Saints.
Yeah, the Panthers snuck one out way back in week 2. They won 26-7 against New Orleans. That was before everybody figured out the Carolina Panthers. And since then, they have been absolutely horrendous. They've lost 5 in a row. Cam Newton hasn't done anything. I don't know if Newton or Darnold started last game, but Darnold ended up being the better of the 2. I think Cam Newton's career's all but done now. It was cool to see him go back to Carolina, but it just didn't work out. Matt Rule definitely on the hot seat at this point. There's no way I could take the Panthers with the direction they're heading. So I'm taking the Saints. They're favored by 7.5. I'll probably take them with the points too.
So I just want to get a small correction here. You said that Darnold was the better of the 2, but Darnold was under 50% completion percentage and threw the ball over 30 times. And Newton,
they both suck. So.
Yeah. I'm just saying Cam Newton had a better day, and he has the rushing threat. I think he's the guy. He's the best quarterback on that roster, but there's no quarterback on that roster that I'm confident going against this Saints defense and being able to win a ball game the way they've looked recently. So I expect the Panthers to get dominated in this game, offensively and defensively. Taysom Hill should be back, by the way, for this game against the Panthers, which will help them a little bit. So I will obviously be taking the Saints in this spot.
Yeah, we're all 3 taking the Saints. Cam got a first down yesterday and did some masculine flexing, posturing, and did a little celebration dance for a first down. I thought, dude, you're 0-12 as a Carolina in your last 12 games as a Carolina Panther. Is that right? Is it 0-12? Right? And 6 games this year, 6 games prior when he was
maybe in starts. I believe they won the first game he played in, but I don't think he started that game.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the guy celebrating the first down. There you go. I think his time's short. I think Darnold's time is short, and I think Matt Rule's time is short. I see a complete overhaul coming in Carolina. Anyway, moving on. Next game up, Detroit Lions at the Seattle Seahawks. I am taking the Detroit Lions.
I tried that and it backfired on me one time. So,
yeah, I'm not going to take the Lions. I'm taking the Hawks. 6.5. I'll take the Lions on the spread, but I'm going to take the Hawks to win outright.
This is the game this week for me that I might actually end up switching. Right now, I just feel like Russell Wilson in this offense should be able to beat the Lions. But with what just happened to the Bears, there's some rethinking of it. Jared Goff is already activated off the COVID-19 list, so he'll be back. And I have the Seahawks picked right now, but I'm leaning toward the Lions. It feels like the Lions could pull the upset this week.
All right, I'm taking the Lions. Whenever I'm taking the Lions, I'm going to will this game. I really want these guys. I don't like Pete Carroll anyway. Pete Carroll's somebody asked him if they were going to do an overhaul, and he was like, I don't see any reason that we need to. What's going on here? Anyway, I've really become a Dan Campbell fan. I really, really want them to beat Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. Zach is not taking the Lions; he's taking the Seahawks, and Hefe is kind of waffling back and forth, and he'll let you know.
Yeah, there you go. I'll let you know on Saturday.
All right, next up is the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. They almost did it to me again last week. They only lost the Rams by a touchdown, but I did get that pick correct. I just want to make but I don't see. I know this is an interdivision game, and the Vikings always, except maybe twice this season, do the opposite of what I pick. There's no way this late in the game they're going into Lambeau and they're beating the Packers. Ain't gonna happen.
No, they already got their win against the Packers this season. They won way back week 11, 34-31, squeaked it out. But the Packers are a completely different team now. They are hot. They are on a roll. Aaron Rodgers looking phenomenal. Dude's thrown 33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, almost 3,700 yards, looking like MVP A-Rod yet again. The Packers currently sitting atop the NFC standing. They're fighting for a number 1 seed. They're not going to blow this against the Minnesota Vikings this week in Lambeau. So I'm taking the Packers. They're favored by 6.5. I'll take them with the points.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Aaron Rodgers would have an off day, kind of like Tom Brady getting shut out against the Saints. It'd be nice if he had one of those days so that.
No, why would you do that?
Because because if Tom Brady basically got shushed away from the MVP race after that game. I would like Aaron Rodgers to take a step back so that we can get JT an MVP here.
All right. Fair enough.
But this is not only a division game. If the Packers win this game, they clinch the number 1 seed. I believe they have that tiebreaker over Dallas. So this is a huge game. I don't see them letting up now, especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to be extra motivated to get some rest for 1 week, keep some pressure off that toe, keep it from getting stepped on. So I expect the Packers to come in, handle their business, and put up a lot of points against the Vikings.
I don't think they have the tiebreaker with Dallas. I think Dallas would hold that tiebreaker. I think it'll come down to conference record potentially, and I think Dallas has only lost 1 in the conference, whereas the Packers have lost 2.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Well, regardless, we're all 3 taking the Packers against the Vikings. In an NFC North game, that weird stuff could happen, but I have confidence. All right, last game, Monday night game is the Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers. I have no confidence in this. I would have thought the Browns were a better team. Mayfield threw 4 interceptions over the weekend. They're playing in Pittsburgh. It's a tough spot to play, and this is this will be win number 8 for Mike Tomlinson. He's never not won at least 8 games in a season. Big Ben knows that Things are really rough. I expect the Steelers come to play and disrupt the Browns. Any thoughts the Browns had of trying to climb back in the playoffs?
So we've talked about Baker Mayfield, and throughout the season, I've been in his corner and stuff. But I will finally admit that I do believe I was wrong. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the answer, even if he is still playing with some ailments. The dude's only thrown for 2,800 yards, 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And I know that they're a rushing team. They pound the ball out with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but still 15 touchdowns to 11 interceptions is just not doable for a team that has the talent that the Cleveland Browns have. So when in regards to Mayfield, I admit I was wrong. I don't think he is the answer, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns in the next few years look for a different answer. I think they're stuck with him next year too, but that's besides the point. When it comes to the Steelers, on the other hand, an old guy like Big Ben, who's immobile, can't even run, he's still thrown 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions and thrown for 3,300 yards. So not bad there. The problem with the Steelers is their defense. The notorious defense that we've all come to know for the Pittsburgh Steelers is just not there. They're not playing very well. They're giving up almost 25 points per game. You cannot win a lot of football games in the NFL giving up 25 points a game. So I think that the Browns will squeak this one out, mainly because of the Steelers' defense. It could go either way. The Browns are favored by 3. I don't even know who to take on that spread because I think this will be a very close game, not a whole lot of playoff implications. Both of them are still in the chase, but they're way down at the bottom of the AFC playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, this is one that no matter which way I pick, I'm not going to be real confident about it. But my thought process here is that the Steelers have an outside chance of making the playoffs. They need some things to go their way. They do not control their own destiny in this whole thing. So what I think is going to happen is Big Ben, obviously, probably in his last season, this is going to be the last time he plays Cleveland, more than likely. And as a Pittsburgh Steeler, that's a big deal. The Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry is an old one, and it dates back. There's some history there, and I know Ben and this team will want to come out and get the victory against the Browns here. Like Zach said, coming out with some tenacity. They'll come out hungry to get a win here. It'll look different than last week. Now, they've gone 5 games in a row, the Steelers have, not scoring a single point in the first half. That's going to be a problem. They got to get that turned around. I think they're able to do that this upcoming week. They shoot themselves in the foot. They have a lot of young talent, a lot of good talent. But when they lose games, it's because of the stupid shit that they do in between the lines. If they get that fixed, which I believe Tomlin will get them to do this week, they'll be able to win.
Yeah. So good point about the rivalry. First of all, Zach, good point about Mayfield. Look, Stefanski's an offensive guy. And I know Mayfield's been hurt, and I know they've chosen to have him play hurt. So the guy's got to have a little bit of a pass. But was this his 5th season in the league?
Something like that. I don't remember.
It's getting hard to defend him. It's got to be one or the other. I mean, it's either got to be Stefanski's a problem or Mayfield's a problem. And I don't know which is which yet, but I'm with you. It's getting hard to continually defend the guy. Something's got to change, and I have a feeling it won't be Stefanski. Hefe, to your point, as far as the rivalry, I have some stats here. It was a great point when you pulled it up. So when you brought it up, so I pulled it up real quick. It dates back to October 7th of 1950. So it goes back 71 years. And I just had I know the Steelers are leading. Now, this is funny. So the regular season series, the Steelers are leading 76-60 with only one tie. 71 years, one tie in the same division. That's pretty incredible. The all-time series that includes playoffs is 78-61 and 1. So they've only met 3 times in the playoffs in 70 years. That's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, good point about that. Let me get back to where I was. We are all 3 taking the Pittsburgh Steelers as the Browns' woes continue. So, all right. Taking a look at the playoff race. We started talking about this week 8, midway through the season, and it has been. We said it was going to be real exciting then, and it has been very exciting. A lot of teams have been changing places, but they're starting to separate themselves just a little bit. We're seeing that now. In the AFC, the first spot is the Chiefs. The Chiefs have 2 games remaining.
I do know that the Chiefs are the only AFC team to have clinched a playoff spot at this point, which is pretty remarkable considering we're going into week 17.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's only been 5 total that have clinched, right?
No, there's 5 over on the NFC. Yeah.
Are there 5 in the NFC?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Chiefs have the Bengals and the Broncos remaining. Both those teams are not going to be easy wins, but the Chiefs are looking pretty good. So they are in the first spot at 11-4. They have to drop one of those to lose their advantage, and it would have to be to the Titans. I don't know who gets the tiebreaker there.
I want to say it goes to the Titans, but that may not be correct.
Probably because the Titans have beaten up on everybody in the division. So it probably would go to them.
The Titans beat the Chiefs October 24th, 27-3.
So it'd go to head to head. So if the Chiefs drop one of these and the Titans win out, the Titans will get the number 1 seed. That's crazy.
Yeah, especially not having Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because the Titans are currently sitting at second at 10-5, and the Titans have the Dolphins and the Texans. They should win both of those games. They could lose either one of them, but they should win both of them. The Bengals are sitting in the 3rd spot at the top of their division, but it's not completely safe. They've got the Chiefs and they've got the Browns, and is that right? Yeah, and they could. They could lose both those games. I don't think they'll lose to the Browns, but they could lose the Browns. It's an interdivision game; all bets are off, and they could lose to the Chiefs. So in their division, I know the Ravens are 8-7. I don't know who has a tiebreaker there. So, and I don't know who the Ravens have left. I mean, this is. You pull that up real quick.
The Bengals have the tiebreaker with Baltimore. They beat them twice.
Okay. Well, the Ravens got the Rams and the Steelers. That's an uphill battle for them to win this division over the Bengals. So the Bengals just got to take care of their business. Win at least one of the 2. I think they're probably safe. Win both. They're definitely safe. Number 4 spot is the Buffalo Bills at the top of the AFC East. And
Falcons and the Jets.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their standings. They're tied with the Patriots, and they got the Falcons and the Jets. So they're in good shape, right? They're going to win both these. Bills probably going to stay at the 4th spot. Colts are 5th at 9-6. Who the heck Colts have remaining?
The Raiders and the Jags.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Raiders and the Jags. Colts should take care of both those. Pretty much in control of their own destiny. The Patriots are in the 6th spot at 9-6 also. I expect them. I know they got the Dolphins last game. Who they play this week? We just went over it. Forget.
Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah. So I expect the Patriots to win their last 2 games. Even though that game with Miami, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, yeah, they better watch it because Miami has a habit of beating the Patriots in the last game of the year in Miami. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it happen on many occasions. They got a miracle in Miami a couple of years ago. Was it last year? 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Number 7 spot is the Ravens at 8-7. Chargers are on the bubble at 8-7. The Raiders are also right there at 8-7. And then the Dolphins are 7-7. The Dolphins could win 2 games and find their way in here. I don't see that happening. They could. I mean, the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Raiders are all struggling. They all could lose their last couple games, and the Dolphins could surprise some people and win out here, and they might slide into that last spot. But I think it's pretty safe to say, if you guys, I want to see if you agree with me or not, the Colts and the Patriots are really going to have to shit the bed for them to not make the playoffs.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hefe, if you want to say something.
Yeah, it's pretty much how that's going to shake out. The big question, as we're recording this again, it's before Monday Night Football. If Miami beats the Saints, they're in the 7th seed, and that kind of changes the trajectory of how these games and what happens and who goes where. So, right now it's looking like the Dolphins have an outside chance. Again, their last 2 games, it's going to be tough for them to win both of those. But, lucky for them, the Chargers and the Raiders play each other in the last week of the season, and the Broncos and Chargers play each other. So the teams that are already in front of them as we record this have to play each other. So there's some chances for them. They just have to capitalize on it.
Great point. Anything you want to say, Zach?
No, it's a nice little cluster there towards the end. I definitely think the Colts and the Patriots, they should be able to take care of business out of all, 6 of these teams we're discussing here. Those 2 have the easier last couple games. So, yeah, I think it's going to come down to pretty much the Ravens and the Chargers. I don't think the Raiders and the Dolphins could get in there, but I could be wrong. It's been a crazy season, so we don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Hats off. We started talking about this in week 8, and a couple weeks ago, a lot of these AFC teams were like 6 and 7. They were like 7 of them right there. Hats off to the Cincinnati Bengals, the Indianapolis Colts, and the New England Patriots for taking care of their business and putting themselves in a good situation heading in the last 2 weeks. I'm impressed.
Absolutely. It was a few weeks ago we were all sitting here questioning the Colts' chances because of the way the schedule was looking and how tough of a road they had, and they've won 4 out of the 5, and they should have beat the Bucs. So those teams definitely showed up and proved everybody wrong.
Yep, I agree. All right, NFC picture. The Packers are in the number 1 seed at 12-3, but the Cowboys are number 2, right behind them at 11-4. We just talked about that. But I don't see the Packers letting this slip. I see them taking care of the business, locking up this number 1 seed. Cowboys are probably going to stay at number 2. Rams are Rams are 3 and the Buccaneers at 4. That could flip flop, but I think both of these teams are going to win outright. These top 4 will probably stay pretty much locked in like they are. I expect all 4 of these teams to win their remaining 2 games. But now we're getting iffy because now we're down to the 5th spot. We got the Cardinals at 10-5. I'm sorry, we got the Cardinals at 10-5. Then we get iffy. Now we got the 6th spot, the 49ers at 8-7, the Eagles 7th spot at 8-7, the Saints at 7-7 in the 8th spot, but they haven't played tonight. The Vikings at 9th spot at 7-8. All these teams, I expect the Eagles to move up. I don't know what the 49ers are going to do. There's a real chance for the Vikings and the Saints to squeeze in here. I think out of these 7 spots that are on here, I would lock 6 of them up with the Eagles, and then that last spot, the 49ers, Saints, and Vikings. Probably, I was going to say probably the 49ers, but it actually, if the Saints can take care of their business, it'll be the Saints. But I don't see it being the Vikings, and I don't see Atlanta getting in there. So 49ers and Saints. What do you guys think?
I think it's probably going to be the Saints. I think the Saints have the easier schedule. I want to say they have the Falcons and the Panthers left. So those 2 should be 2 cakewalks as long as they take care of business against Miami on the Monday night game, which by the time everybody's hearing this, everybody will know that result. So if the Saints beat Miami, they have the easier back end of the schedule compared to all these other teams. So I would almost put the Saints in there. And then I think it'll come down to the 49ers and the Eagles. The Eagles had that tough test against the Dallas Cowboys in the very last week of the season. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up between those 2, but I'd probably go Saints and Eagles in there.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm feeling too with what the Saints have left on the schedule, even though I believe they'll lose to the Dolphins. If they beat the Dolphins, then with the way their schedule ends up, they're probably in the playoffs for sure. But even if they lose to the Dolphins here on Monday Night Football, I think that the Saints have a very good chance because I don't think that the Niners are going to be able to beat the Rams in the last week of the season. And the Eagles are a team that I do think will end up as either the 6th or 7th seed here. So right in line with what you guys are thinking.
Well, let me throw this at you guys. Say Minnesota beats Green Bay this coming week. What do you think about the Vikings?
I was thinking about that too because they're kind of they're my dark horse team. If they're able to somehow beat the Packers in Lambeau, then they would at least deserve a playoff spot beating a team like that.
And the Vikings are very capable. The scary thing is the Vikings are capable of beating just about anybody in the league. They just can't get their shit together, and I don't understand why. But
Lack of playmakers on defense.
Yeah. That's a very real possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's a very real possibility. And I hate it. I like the Vikings. I don't know. I always have since I was a kid. Fran Tarkenton played. I'd like to see them do well, and they're a good team. They're a good football team, and it's got to be frustrating. It goes back to that whole Browns thing. You know your team's good, and they're just not getting anything done. It's frustrating, but anyway. All right, that pretty much is the playoff rundown, and that will pretty much do it for this week's episode of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. So I want to remind you to please show us some love, like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us get the word out. Tell all your friends and your grandma. And just a reminder that you can catch both of our shows, the Weekly Rundown and our Fantasy Draft Central show, Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on WUBI Ubiquity Radio. Find them more information at wubi.live. And of course, as we wrap up the season, we get ready for the playoffs. It gets really excited. Check back in here with us next week as we recap the games from this week and preview the games for Week 18. Until then, thanks for joining us. Deuces.